Welcome to episode 76 of Common Knowledge, the show where I look at some common Magic the Gathering cards, tell you if they're any good in the Pauper format or not. We will start today's show with Daring Thunder Thief. This actually, we've kind of done this card before, but we did it and I had to go back and then I accidentally skipped it, so we never got to do this card. We get to do this card again. Actually, wait, no. No, that's a different card. That's actually a different card. What happened was, I think I was getting a phone call at the end, and I gave this like a really bad score and deserved a much better score. And I think I actually even tried to go back. Now I remember. Yes. All right, Daring Thunder Thief. We're gonna give just a quick score to. I won't count it because we've done this card before. You've probably read this card as I've been talking about it. So I think a 4/4 with flash for 4 mana in blue, actually not that bad. You hold up all your mana in blue. You put down a 4/4 at the end of turn. You untap, and now you got a 4/4. That's pretty good. Blue doesn't mind this. Blue doesn't mind. It's hard to play a card like this when you have Tolarian Terrors and Cryptic Serpents and the other serpents that have like affinity for artifacts and the whale that has affinity for artifacts. You have plenty of other cards that can come into play for cheaper than 4 and give you 4 power or 4 toughness or both or better. So this card probably still doesn't hang in most of those decks, but I think it could. You also have like Mirror Enforcer. Mirror Enforcer can be free, and that's a 4/4 that can go in any deck playing artifacts, but colorless anyway. I still don't think this is too bad. It's also an outlaw. That means something. I'm going to go back and I'm going to amend my score. I think I gave it like a 1 point something, and that's not true. This deserves like a 2.9. That's a pretty good jump. I might even bump it up to a 3. I will bump it up to a 3. Daring Thunder Thief, you're a 3 in my book. Next up and first up is Centaur Rootcaster. For 3 and a green, you get a 2/2 Centaur Druid. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you can search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. A little interesting. So, can you... 4 mana's a lot to ask for a 2/2. Your opponent is pretty set up to block a creature like this comfortably by the time you're able to put it out. Even if you're ramping up. Even if you ramp this up and you're able to put this out on turn 3... I think your opponent is still ready, and there's plenty of other good green ramp in the format already that isn't this creature. But it's still a repeatable way of getting basics and not just putting them in your hand, putting them on the battlefield, and that's cool. That is cool. Like in some kind of Boglesy kind of deck where you're able to load this thing up, give it trample or give it first strike, make it hard to block. You still wouldn't play it. You still wouldn't play. I'm over here like trying my best to give you an idea of like, I don't know, maybe, but the answer is no. The answer is no. It's cool though. I kind of like it. I especially like the art. The idea that this centaur has rooted the dude to the ground so he can then crush his skull. Holy shit. Good job, Eric Peterson. Let's give this thing a 2 and move on. And be a little sad that Magic cards. This is a Magic card that cannot really be played in Pauper anymore. Probably never was, based on when Pauper started. But this thing was probably somebody's favorite card as a kid, and I could totally, if I had been playing Judgment when I was a kid, or Judgment was around when I was a kid, this is a card I would have loved to play with. I would have loved to figure out ways of making this do combat damage. Yeah, that would have been cool. Anyway, Cascade Seer is 3 and a blue for a 3/3 Merfolk Wizard. When this creature enters, you scry X, where X is the number of creatures in your party. Party consists of up to 1 of each Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. So you always get to scry 1, because this is the Wizard. But if you got a Cleric, Rogue, or Warrior, you also get to scry more based on the number you have. Now, the thing because I wasn't really playing, let me see here. You control number is the total number of those checks to which you answered yes. Each creature, yeah, there you go. Each creature you control can be counted for only one of those checks. So having a changeling doesn't mean you automatically get 4. Get the Scryfall, I mean. And that's lame. That's so lame. They should errata that back. You should be able to have a changeling and you get all the stuff. Yeah, I don't like it. 4 mana for a 3/3 is not great. The scry is okay, but it's not amazing. Having to build your deck in such a way that gets you more of the scries. It's cool art, but that's all it is. And I think we'll give this like a 1.5. Keep on going. Sluggishness is 1 in a red for an enchantment aura. Enchants a creature. Enchanted creature can't block. And when this aura is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. From Urza's Legacy, that's also where Rancor came in, right? Like is this part of the cycle? Rancor, yeah, is from Urza's Legacy. Like I thought. So I think this is part of the cycle. Because when they go to the graveyard, they go back to your hand. The problem is that Rancor is busted. Just absolutely busted. And Sluggishness is bad. That's all there is to it. Not like a creature not being able to block is, not nothing, but it's not much. It's not much. This is overcosted, and sure, it comes back to your hand. There's potentially some fun stuff to do there, but it's not great. It's not great. I will give this a 1.3. 1.2. It's not even that good. Next up is Betrothed of Fire. 1 and a red for an enchantment aura. It enchants a creature as well. You can sacrifice an untapped creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Or you can sacrifice the enchanted creature, and creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. That's cute. I think that's very cute. The thing I like most is that it becomes an unconditional sack outlet, a repeatable, unconditional, instant speed sack outlet for the rest of your deck. That's kind of cool. It gets like a Fallen Angel kind of effect. Fallen Angel does it a little bit better, but still, that's kind of cool that you can make any of your creatures into, like a Viscera Seer or a Carrion Feeder or something like that. That's neat. It's also in red. And red red obviously has ways of sacrificing things, but not with the ease that black does, especially creatures. So I dig this. And then also as a way of sacrificing the creature itself to give everything else a power boost if you're going really wide. So you can go really tall with this or really wide. And your opponent, God, and you can do this at instant speed. So you could do this. You swing in with a giant army of 1/1 goblins or whatever. What's your opponent supposed to do? Do they block this guy that you will then sacrifice to this effect and give everything else that goes unblocked +2/+0 and just swarm them and kill them? Do you block a bunch of the small fry, which this guy goes, well, okay, hang on. Whoa. I missed something. It does say sacrifice an untapped creature. So you can't quite go wide and then sacrifice everything that gets blocked to make this guy huge. Okay, never mind. This card is not nearly as good as I wanted it to be. It's still neat, and I guess if you somehow gave all those creatures vigilance, then where I was going works, but that's asking for a lot in red. Now I'm just disappointed. Now I want to give it way fewer points for being disappointed in it. I'll still give it like a 2.3. It's kind of cool. I like some of the thought patterns that are going in there. Destructive Digger is 2 and a red for a 3/2 goblin. You can pay 3 and tap it and sack an artifact or land to draw a card. I think we've just gotten better versions of this at this point. There's like an Edge of Eternities card. Are we gonna look for it? I guess we are. Excuse me. UE and common. What's the guy I'm looking for? Sacrifice. Yep, there you go. You can just pay 2, sacrifice another artifact or land, draw a card. This thing costs 1 and costs only 2 to do the effect. And this is a 1/2. Whereas this guy, yeah, he's a 3/2, but you're also paying 3 times as much, and then you're paying a third as much for this, or a third more, I mean. And that's not great. I think you'd play that Edge of Eternities card before you'd play this, and you don't really even play the Edge of Eternities card. You could. It's not the worst red card draw in the world, but this guy is pretty bad. Let's give him a 1.4. Whip Stitch Zombie, oh, I remember you, is 1 and a black for a 2/2 zombie. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature unless you pay black. So it's a grizzly bear, but you have to keep on paying for it because black is not supposed to have creatures that are this good. It's also prophecy, so the card was just made to be bad. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It is a zombie, and it can go to your graveyard. There are reasons you might want that, but no, not in Pauper. There's Black Sack has so many more options available that will do something either when the creature comes into play or when the creature dies, and you'll do all of those and use all of those creatures before you would use Whip Stitch Zombie. Let's go ahead and give this guy 1. He is terrible. Whirlwind Adept is 4 and a blue for a 4/2 Jin Monk. It's got hexproof and it's got prowess. You got hexproof and you got prowess? 5 mana is too much. 5 mana is too much. And also, I guess it's blue, but, could it at least be a 4/3? Could it be a 3/3, maybe? I don't know. I think I'd prefer something that would be able to live through some blocks a little bit more. Yeah. Too much mana. Don't like. I think I got 2.4, I guess. Last Breath is 1 and a white for an instant. Exile target creature with power 2 or less. Its controller gains 4 life. So it's kind of like we're doing a Swords to Plowshares. Oh, that's from Arcadian Mass. I didn't know that. Interesting. And a Shadowmoor. Huh. Interesting. This has gotten a lot of prints from a lot of different planes, which I think is kind of neat. But ultimately, this card is pretty bad. Yeah, it's just it hits too little of targets. If you're exiling a creature with power 2 or less, it's probably not as impactful of a card. It's not always the case. If you hit a Murmuring Mystic with this, you're happy about it. You're also giving your opponent 4 life. 4 life is a decent amount in Pauper. Some people will play cards that gain them 4 life in their sideboard, and that's basically all that they do. Just because gaining 4 life is useful in some matchups. So giving your opponent 4 life for basically free is probably a little iffy. Probably a little iffy. It is still exile removal, and that's nice, but I think it just hits too few targets and it gives your opponent too much back in return. And for that, I'll give it a 2. Next up on the list, Will Forged Golem. This might be one of the only Golem cards I don't own. Was a big fan of golems back in the day, and that was like one of the first creature types I really got into. And so I started just collecting every copy of every golem that I could find. I know I'm surely missing quite a few of them, but I don't remember this one. I don't remember this art. Will Forged Golem is 6 mana for a 4/4 artifact golem. And you can convoke it, which means your creatures can help cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color, which doesn't really matter here because it's all colorless. It's just, okay. Here's probably the thought process. Mirror Enforcer is broken. Busted, right? Affinity for artifacts, way too strong. What if we made something that was like Affinity for artifacts, but we also put a little bit more condition on it where it forces the player to do a little bit more. But they could still make this thing free. Everybody likes a free 4/4, right? If you got to tap down 6 other creatures to get your free 4/4, it wasn't really free. Now, a combination of creatures and land can do this in a way that's still probably pretty positive, but you can just play Mirror Enforcer in Pauper, so you do. You just don't think about this guy. You play your Frogmites, you play your Mirror Enforcers, you might even play your Ornithopters, and you just have enough things that come in that don't need this guy. I think it's true. I will give this like a 2.6. It's still all right. Final card of the day. It is inviolability. Oh God. Inviolability. Like you're violated. You're unable to be violated. That is, when you see a word and you know the word, but you don't particularly know how to pronounce it. That was me right there. 1 and a white for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to enchanted creature. Interesting. We've seen effects like this that will prevent the damage dealt to and dealt by the enchanted creature. A way of either blanking an opponent's creature or giving yourself just a blocker that pretty much blanks anything. Those are both interesting. But the idea that this just gives your creature invulnerability to damage. That's not bad. It just makes it even harder to blow up. It's still an enchantment that has to be put on the creature first. We all know the pitfalls with that. But if you can put it on your creature, that's okay. 2 mana without giving it any sort of power or toughness boost. I guess the toughness doesn't really matter if you're preventing damage from it forever. It could, I guess if this card said target creature gets plus 999 defense, plus 999 toughness, maybe I'd look at it differently. and yet this is essentially what it says. It's okay, but it doesn't really help you win the game. It helps you not lose the game. And that's an important distinction that I think most Pauper decks are going to want to try to win the game more. Some of them, like combo decks and things like that, are looking to stall out the board. Maybe this is an option for them, but I don't really think it is. Those decks are barely playing creatures anyway, so I don't know. Cool to have something that just blocks for days. Also, note that it doesn't say combat damage. It says damage. So you red decks basically fall to this. Now, I don't know. they can still go wide and kill you, I suppose. They can do damage right to your face. But it is nice to, if you had this in like a sideboard against red, I guess as long as you're able to get this on the board, that they can't blow up the creature before that happens, you're pretty golden. Well, red also can't really deal with enchantments, so it's maybe a little better than I'm giving it credit for. Why don't we give it I'll give this a 3.3. Probably could be used in some really interesting decks and just really completely brick some matchups, and that's cool. That is neat. It's like a little sideboard piece. We are doing a bonus card today. If you couldn't already tell by me switching cards, we'll get Wirewood Elf, which is 1 and a green for a 1/2 Elf Druid. It taps for green. It was from Onslaught. They tried to make a worse Llanowar Elves, and they did. Problem is, we already have 3 Llanowar Elves. You have Llanowar Elves, you have Elvish Mystic, and you have Findhorn Elves. And I would play all of those before I would play this. 2 mana for a mana dork is just not that good. Not when you have those other options available to you. And it getting an extra point of toughness is not nearly good enough to make that happen. So let's go ahead. I mean, it's still a 2 mana dork. That's not nothing, but it's not really something either. Let's give this thing a 2.4, I guess, but also know that you would never in your life play this card. All right, that's it. We'll see you next time. Bye.